Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the Voice of Reason. Today, we're continuing our coverage of the ongoing civil war taking place inside of the former state of Ethiopia. As we know, especially within the confines of the Tigray region and the surrounding areas of the Tigray region, we have seen a fairly tremendous lull in the fighting. If you compare and contrast to what was occurring inside of the region within the last 6 months, obviously the intensity of the fighting was much greater during prior dates. Now, we have been hearing reports of Abiy loyalist forces, the ENDF forces, Ethiopian National Defense Forces, that are loyal to the Abiy Ahmed regime. We are hearing reports that, again, there are convoys of Abiy loyalist forces heading towards the vicinity of Kobo. And these forces are coming from a variety of places, obviously within both the Amhara region and other areas as well. And there has been some suggestion that this could be the buildup for a possible renewed push by Abiy loyalist forces to re-invade the Tigray region. And I would say at this point, that is highly doubtful. At least here at MFAN, we believe that is highly doubtful in terms of a new invasion by the Abiy loyalist forces, specifically in regards to reinvading the southern Tigray region and quite possibly a push towards Mekelle. Well, why is that? Well, first and foremost, the Abiy loyalist forces suffered greatly, obviously, in its occupation of the Tigray region, and then the ensuing operations that took place after the TDF, the Tigrayan Defense Forces, then invaded the Amhara region, seizing control of areas again, such as Kobo, Weldia, Desse, Kombolcha, and then at one point threatening Addis Ababa, also known as Finfinne. But again, the prospects of a renewed push by the ENDF obviously is still there. And with that being said, again, we would say it is again highly unlikely. And again, another reason is that the TDF. So when the Abiy loyalist forces, in conjunction with the forces of Isaias Afwerki of the Eritrean military initially invaded the Tigray region, we were looking at a TDF, a Tigrayan Defense Force, that had not yet mobilized, that had approximately, at the time of the invasion by the ENDF and the Eritrean army, of about 9,000 to 10,000 personnel that were actually active at the time of the attack. Now, we had heard, obviously, from media reports that the Tigray region could, in fact, mobilize up to 250,000 personnel, and that's actually what has occurred. So, if the ENDF, the Abiy loyalist forces, were to reinvade the Tigray region, obviously they would be facing forces now in excess of 250. Some reports indicate that the TDF has swelled to, in fact, over 300,000 personnel. So again, a very, very sizable force that is in a much better position now than it was when the original ENDF, or the Abiy loyalist forces, entered the Tigray region. So a much more capable, much more powerful force, at least in terms of manpower, exists inside of the Tigray region at this point. And then with that being said, again, those Abiy loyalist forces suffered greatly in its occupation of the Tigray region. So the idea that the ENDF has that same capability as what it had when it originally invaded the Tigray region is simply not there. Again, the ENDF has suffered massive casualties. And right now, the information we have is it is in no state to re-invade the Tigray region. Now, with that being said, you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of this deployment of forces towards Kobo? Well, obviously, the Tigray region is still under siege. The Anaconda strategy is still in effect, meaning to cut off the Tigray region with of external supplies, especially in terms of humanitarian supplies, where the Tigray region can feed its people. And we still have the areas of western Tigray under occupation by the Amhara regional forces as well. So we believe at this point the ENDF has made these moves towards Kobo under the guise of a possible defensive operation. Again, at some point, given the mobilization that has occurred within the Tigray region and given the continued siege of the Tigray region, we believe here at MFAN that at some point, if this humanitarian ceasefire in terms of getting the necessities of life into the Tigray region, if that in fact fails, then we're probably looking at a renewed military solution by the Tigrayan Defense Forces. And given the fact that the ENDF really has its hands full right now with the Oromo Liberation Army just a few dozen kilometers, a few dozen miles from the capital, and given that the TDF has been fully mobilized now, and anyone who is able to carry a rifle has been probably in fact trained and mobilized by the region, and unfortunately for the Tigray region, it cannot maintain that type of force for an extended period of time. So if this ceasefire were to collapse, our understanding is the TDF is making preparations for basically a final battle with the ENDF, where they will basically break that siege, that Anaconda strategy, and start renewed operations, both quite possibly in western Tigray and quite possibly a renewed invasion of the Amhara region could be on the table if, in fact, the ENDF, the Abiy loyalist forces, continue to starve the civilian population of the Tigray region. And I think at this point it really doesn't have any other choice. Either it can continue to suffer and have the Tigray region suffer with this Anaconda strategy, or it can take advantage of its immense military capacity that it has mobilized over the course of the last year plus, and look to end this once and for all. And I think that quite possibly a very large operation by the TDF is on the table should this ceasefire collapse, and more importantly, the Anaconda strategy is not removed, and supplies, and especially food, water, medicine, is starting to flow back into the Tigray region. And I think that's why we have seen this movement by the ANDF, by the Abiy loyalist forces within the vicinity of Kobo. Because again, if the ENDF were going to make a renewed push into the Amhara region, obviously, one of its main offensive paths would be through and towards Weldia, Desse, Kumbalcha, and quite possibly looking for a rapid advance to meet up with OLA fighters that continue to operate near Kamise and obviously to the west of Debre Burhan. But again, has not started yet. We'll see what happens with this ceasefire, and if that were to collapse, and again, especially the food and humanitarian supplies are not allowed into the Tigray region, then obviously the Tigray region and the TDF is going to have to do something with that fully mobilized 300,000 man army that has been fully mobilized and it has proven in the past very much capable of conducting very large, very aggressive offensive operations inside of Ethiopia proper. But again, we'll continue to watch what happens, and I think the next few days, the next few weeks will be very crucial to see where this exactly goes. But right now, I think preparations, at least in terms of the TDF, for contingency planning for the collapse of said ceasefire and the continued anaconda strategy is just completely unacceptable to the TDF, and they're probably looking to making plans to completely eliminate that strategy by the Abiy loyalist forces here sometime in the near future. But again, thanks for joining us. We'll have more in the very, very near future. Have a good day, everybody.